right. Good evening, everybody. My name's Larry Miller, and I'm the president of the Glenwood South Neighborhood Collaborative. In a minute, we'll be telling you a little bit more about the organization that we have. But to start off, I wanted to thank a few individuals in the groups that we're going to have this evening. First of all, I want to thank the Hampton Inn and Hampton Inn Suites, and particularly Sue Glennon, who's the vice president of the Glenwood South Neighborhood Collaborative. Thank you for making this space available. There she is. She's bringing in more chairs. All right. As far as the food, the Hibernian Irish Restaurant and Pub, Niall Hanley is on our board also. They provided some food for us. Demo's Pizza with Anthony DeMarco. They provided food for us also. He's on our board. Clouds Brewing Company provided some beer for us tonight. Adam Hoffman is on our board, past president. Raleigh Wine Shop, Seth Hoffman, provided us with some wine tonight. He's also a GSNC board member. Also, I want to thank all the participants that are going to be on the program tonight. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to come here and give us some information about topics of interest to us. So, let me just tell you a little bit about the Glenwood South Neighborhood Collaborative. It's an organization composed of representatives from businesses and residents in the Glenwood South community. It was originally created about 6 years ago with the mission to empower residents, merchants, and community-based organizations to work together to maximize the vitality and appeal of the Glenwood South as a neighborhood, making it attractive to residents and visitors. We provide a platform for neighborhoods by making it more walkable through community service projects and art projects. We were one of the first and maybe only organization in the city that combines both residents and businesses in one organization. We've always felt that that was important because this is a neighborhood where we live and work and play. And so we want to make it an attractive neighborhood for everybody, and that's part of our goal. We have, over the years, we've had a number of projects that we've worked on. Current projects that we're working on include neighborhood mixers. We do this periodically, get together for residents to meet their neighbors. The next one is coming up Monday, October 15th at the Dogwood Bar and Eatery, 5:30 p.m. Matt Kenner is a board member, and he's hosting that. We'll have door prizes, free appetizers, and a chance to meet your neighbors. Other projects that we're working on in the neighborhood include the identification and signage project. Chris Larson from the DRA is on our board, and he will be talking more about it later on. In addition, and one of the other projects that we're working on is the Glenwood Fair. That's an event where people can come together and taste the restaurants, retail, and services that are located in the neighborhood. The last one we did was in the fall of 2017. Next one is going to be in the spring of 2019, and we're actively preparing for that now. We also hold community meetings, such as tonight, to provide information on issues of concern to the Glenwood South neighborhood. Finally, we have ongoing projects in the community to promote public art. We're kind of known as an artsy neighborhood. We try to We try to develop projects that will make our neighborhood attractive. So we'll be talking about that more later on. We'll be passing around a clipboard that you can use to sign up for membership for the GSNC. Membership is free, doesn't cost you anything. All you need to do is put down information, your name, address, email address, and whether you're a resident, business, or a friend of Glenwood South. So we don't exclude people if you don't live here or a business here. You can still be a friend of Glenwood South. What membership does is it provides you with information. We send out emails, not too many, just about meetings and things, about our mixers. We won't be inundating you. We don't sell our email list. So you won't be getting too many emails from us. But we do let you know, things like this meeting tonight. We send out emails reminding people about that. So it is a way to get information. We have 609 members right now. A little over half of them are businesses. About 200 are businesses. Another 300 are residences, and the rest are friends of Glenwood South. So, if you aren't a member, go ahead and sign up. All right. So, we're going to start off with Randall Miller, who is secretary of the GSNC. She's going to tell us a little bit about some of the projects that we have going on.
Donna Belt has been instrumental in providing ideas and projects for the Glenwood South neighborhood. Unfortunately for me and for you, she's out of town and unable to be here. So she has asked me to provide some information about our newest project, and it's called 1,000 Snowflakes. But before we get there, I just wanted to let you know about some previous projects that this neighborhood has been a part of. We provide community art. And again, it's Donna who comes up with these ideas and gets us together. So we meet as a neighborhood, and we crochet or knit scarves, wrap trees. This is an art project we did. Another one is the kindness rocks. So neighborhood gets together, we paint the rocks, we put them out for people to find as a nice surprise. Men, you are welcome to join us also. We don't exclude you from any of our projects. We'll be glad to teach you to knit or crochet or paint, whatever you want to do. So you can see the men of the neighborhood are included also. This was a great way. You'll still see this out. The crosswalks were painted. We had 3 different artists provide these designs. So another community art. Donna has been in charge of the poetry wall. As a neighborhood, we provide her with quotes based on a theme or a topic. And then she goes out there with some friends and keeps this active and attractive for us. For 2 Christmases, we got together and we did origami cranes one year, and then origami butterflies another year. There's over 1,000 of these on these trees each. And so it's another way for us to come together as a community, socialize, and make some art. The other thing Glenwood South does is we give back to our community. These are refugee mats that were crocheted by the neighborhood, and they are made out of just the trash bags you get from the grocery store or Target or wherever. So it takes about 800 bags to make one of those mats. So that was a great project that we did to give back to the community. We also crocheted or knitted scarves and hats, put them on trees when it's cold. If you need one, take one, just as a way to somebody out there who needs something. We're able to provide that. We also do canned food drive for the North Carolina Food Bank, and then recently we've been a part of the diaper train for St. Saviour's. We also have a community event called Glenwood Fair, which is a taste of Glenwood South. And we, proceeds from this, we are able to give back to St. Xavier's Community Outreach Center or the Community Music School, which is located in the neighborhood. And we will be having another one, Glenwood Fair, in the spring. So stay tuned for more information for that. And so now, snowflakes. So what I'm here to talk about is we have almost 1,000 snowflakes. So we don't need you to make any more snowflakes. But what we need is your help. We need to hang them. So as an art project, we're going to line Glenwood Avenue with snowflakes. So on December 8th at 11 a.m., we're going to meet here at the Hampton Inn. We're going to have coffee, refreshments. You'll get your bag of snowflakes. You'll get your assignment, which is trees. And then I need you to go hang the snowflakes. If you have a stepladder, please bring that. Everything else will be provided. At the end of our little hanging, we're going to end up at Southern Chard for some hot chocolate and some drink specials and food specials. So just to let you know, this is what's going on. And if you are a business and if you have like a patio or an overhang and would like to hang some snowflakes, we will deliver them. So I have a sign-up sheet, and at the very last column it just says business. So if you'll check that, if you're willing to hang those snowflakes, that would be awesome. We will give you the snowflakes, but we just want you to hang them as a business. And if you can commit to showing up December 8th here at 11 o'clock, please sign that sheet because we just need to know your commitment because we need about 50 to 60 volunteers. And so based on this information we have here, we can go to other organizations like Raleigh Parks and Rec and find some other volunteers to help us that day to finish our snowflakes art project. And I think that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we need 50 to 60 people. Hopefully some of you have ladders because we're gotta get up into the trees to hang them so the drunks can't pull them down at night. I'm sorry to say that. Glenwood South, that does happen occasionally. Things like that.
The drunks need to do something.
Anyway, but it'll be a fun project. We'll get out there and hang them and have a good time. All right. So, next on our agenda, Mike Smith is the president of Kane Realty. Kane Realty is involved in a number of development projects in Raleigh, including several downtown Raleigh. We're pleased to have the development at Peace and West Streets coming to our neighborhood, and we welcome them as one of our newest community members. We're thankful that he's taken time out of his busy schedule to be with us tonight and provide us an update on the project.
Is there a flip clipper here? Well, thank you. Great to be here. And Larry, thank you for the invitation. And this is not getting out of anyone's busy schedule. This is a priority as we are excited about being a part of this neighborhood. This is what we believe a fantastic neighborhood for residents and businesses. It's why you all are here. And maintaining that is clearly part of our objective as well. Look forward just to sharing some of the things that are happening on this project and then some of the other land that we're involved with, sharing some things that we really haven't ever shared in public before. Some things I haven't seen until I came in this afternoon, a rendering or two. So excited to be able to share those with you. And actually that's just how we are viewing our relationship with our neighbors in a transparent way, talking about what's happening, sharing what's happening. This, some things I may show you may not be exactly what we end up doing, but it's the direction that we are going right now in sort of our concept work on what would be our second phase. And it's awesome to really find the community where business and residences are working so well together. We see ourselves clearly in the residential business, so we are advocates for residents and the quality of life that those residents expect to have, and obviously we're also involved in the success of what happens in the commercial world. So we feel we're tied in very closely in the same objectives that you all have. I don't think I need to orient you here. You all, I think, know exactly where that is. What I did have highlighted is this is all the land that we as the Kane Realty Group and the Williams Building and Realty Group have under control. Actually, all of us owned. So that's been an assembly that's been occurring by the Williams family for decades, and we've been a part of that here in the last few years as they were excited about seeing if something special could happen here. I don't need to talk to you about Glenwood South, but that is clearly the attraction which brought us to doing what we think is some unique and continue to push the envelope type of development for our community. A lot of you know the history of what's happened here. Some of you may be new to the area, but there is a tremendous history in this area. Just some interesting photos that you could see. I think you know where you are here when you recognize the road system that's located there. And up there in the top corner, you can see the trussels that are going by. A lot of the architect groups, we like to work with different architect groups so we don't have the same look. It's always important to us that we understand the neighborhood, and if you can understand some of the history of the neighborhood, those are even better. So those are parts of the things that we try to go digging in. Yes, Chris?
Hey, Mike. Sorry to interrupt, but I had heard once upon a time that Carly Yastrzemski played baseball in that field. Is that true?
I don't know that one, but that's a great one for us all to know now. Everybody hear that?
Yeah, that's true.
Yaz played ball
Famous
in that
blue in
ballpark.
South Lore, so
That's awesome.
it's confirmed.
That's some good lore right there for sure. Oh yeah, a perspective that is helpful. Y'all don't need this as much because you know the area, but also puts together really, our project that we're doing on the other side of West. You start to realize how close these are, and what the city is doing with West, we could be more excited about having an area that is really going to be friendly for pedestrians and bicyclists, and as well as the vehicles. But it helps put in perspective also the Union Station location, which the community here put a lot of investment into. And of course, our excitement there about the green at the bottom. Those that can't see it, it's the future Devereaux Meadows Park that we highlighted, which I believe we're hearing more about tonight. So this is what is going on at the corner of Peace and West. This is just over 400 units of residences, close to 450 units of residences. This is on top of a Publix grocery store. Everyone I know has heard that, is excited about that. It's just shy of 50,000 square feet. They will be offering all the things we expect Publix to be offering. They'll have the standards as well as the deli and the floral and the baked areas and then the prepared foods area. So all those things that I think we come to appreciate if you've been in a Publix, those are things that in my opinion, help set Publix apart. Let me orient you on this street location. So this is the train tracks on Peace. This is, no, I don't have that right there.
Yeah, that's Peace and that's Harrington.
There we go.
It's the
Right.
new
This
Harrington.
Harrington right here, I'm sorry. This is the new Harrington that has been paved, and that's looking up toward what is, if I'm standing at Harrington and Peace, I'm looking back toward Glenwood. Another corner here is the corner of Peace and West. So if I walked up to the train, toward the train tracks, and then turned around and looked back from where I was standing, this is West and this is Peace. And this is one of these great renderings that's so rich that if you can zoom in on it, you really are able to see some of the details. And we're happy to make any of these available for somebody that wants to look at these deeper or in a way for another use. Some things just to point out, obviously very pedestrian friendly here. Cafe space for outside eating. Another access area coming in here for pedestrians then on Peace. And then one of the vehicular entrances and egresses is there on Peace. The way this building lays out is there is parking that is primarily for Publix. Drew and Warner, I'll let you correct me where I say this wrong. We got 200 units, 200 parking spaces that are on the ground level, and that is not public parking, that's Publix parking. All right, and they're very key to make sure that's understood. Now, we're all going to become Publix customers, so they're going to want you parking there when you're shopping there. And then on top of that is going to be the Publix grocery store On top of that then is the residences, and we have another way you can connect in the parking, and then we have about 500 spaces just for what is going to be restricted use. So again, that is also not part of public parking, but that'll be for those that are in the residences there. Yes, sir?
A question to help me understand, how big is 50,000 square feet in terms of other grocery stores? What's it compared to?
That's the standard. You see many grocery stores that
Cameron Village?
Cameron Village is awfully large. So Cameron Village, I think, is in the 80,000 square feet, maybe larger. That's one of their Taj Mateaters. I mean, that's one of the big ones that they've done out there. But 50,000 square feet, 45 to 50,000 square feet is really their standard.
How large is the one in North Hills, the Harris Teeter there?
The Harris Teeter at North Hills, that first floor is 36,000 square feet. And then there's that mezzanine, and that's 12,000. So the floor plate is about the same, but it's all going to be on one floor here. Just an aerial, just so you can see what's going on with construction. I think this was flown by the drone about 3 weeks ago or so, and we're also happy to share any of those if there's somebody here that finds those interesting. You're observing it faster than we are, and we also apologize for the construction and work in progress. We know you are grinning and bearing a change to the neighborhood, but hopefully it will be worth it when it's done. Yes.
Yes. What are the plans for those 3 buildings that? One was Rollins Cleaners.
In this area?
Yeah.
I'm going to walk through some other areas here in just a second, if you'll bear with me, and hopefully I'll answer that question for you. So we do have the residences, and this is sort of a genre look of what those residences are going to feel like. The word peace is being grabbed. They're trying to create an oasis in what's an urban area, so that there's a respite to it, still have some hipness to it. But paying attention to the organics, where we can do green, we're trying to make sure we're doing green, and really excited about that. And that'll be also run and managed by our Kane residential team. So we're in lots of different properties throughout Raleigh. Our team naturally gets involved in the direct local community, so I know they will enjoy getting to know and you getting to know them. Also a place that can host things like this, or have mixer events. Yes?
Hi. You mentioned a lot of focus on green and organic. Do you guys have plans right now for green infrastructure for stormwater?
So the stormwater system here,
Let me just introduce 2 guys on our team. Warner Cuppin and Drew Yates are leaders on our development team, helping us with tonight on some of the questions I knew I was not going to have all the answers for.
Yeah, so typical stormwater management, kind of adhering to city standards.
Yeah.
Yep.
Typical stormwater management, adhering to city standards. The stormwater will run through the building into the culvert, which you're all familiar with. It kind of runs parallel to Harrington. One unique feature we'll have here is we'll have kind of a green roof above the public's main entrance vestibule. That will be kind of a unique way to help with stormwater management. It's just kind of a cool feature for the project. Otherwise, it's kind of standard management.
Thank you.
I thought you'd be interested in really what's happening schedule-wise. Just in the immediate future, there's the continuing pour of the structure, and it is a concrete structure, which is why I know there's some late night or early morning noises, or throughout the night noises. Again, we thank you for your grinning and bearing on that. And future dates, just to see that I know you're interested in when does all this end, and when do you start to see things that you can touch, feel, and shop in. The top of the structure will top out in the second quarter of next year. Dry in, which is one of those words of when you're starting to now do the interiors work, that'll be this time next year. The parking deck and the leasing office for the residences will be in the fourth quarter of next year. And then our first units will be opening up about 18 months from now. Our first residences will be opening up about 18 months from now. And then the grocer and the other residences will be around the end of the second quarter, called the mid-2020 time period. And we're the developer for Publix, but we are not Publix. So we are also just as excited to hear what exactly they're doing. We're putting together a lot of their plans. We're anticipate that this is clearly going to be an amenity for everybody, and we're excited about when they start to roll out their details in any way we can share that with you. As we know, we are happy to do so. So I thought I'd share with you the land that is between the west building and this site. We have now started to call this our phase 2 and are moving down a path fairly rapidly to see if we can get a project started by next summer. And that would include more offices. So we really haven't had a lot of offices for the restaurants around here. So that would be offices, and then that would also be more residences. And it would be kind of going in a different direction than what we had. So one's a concrete structure above Publix. This would be more in the stick frame type construction in the 5-story range. What we're most excited about this, we just really think that the location that you all are in this location, we just think is fantastic. And one of the things we think the area is craving is just some placemaking versus and connectivity versus just a developer not always paying attention to what's next to them. So by having an area that, in this case, we may be controlling 3 blocks, we're excited about really paying attention to the connectivity of those 3, and then those 3 with what would be the park, what's happening over at Seaboard, and then the direction that's happening back clearly here at Glenwood South. So those are all things that we're focused on, and I would say if you really got to the passion about what everybody at Kane Realty is most excited about, it's when you get to create places, and it's not just doing a project. And so I think that's what we have found ourselves getting most excited about some of this. So again, just to orient you, you see we're, I guess, sitting underneath the D of Glenwood, and you see what we're calling the phase 1, and then circled there is that phase 2. So this is a really clunky, way to show what the shapes and sizes of things that we're working toward. This is where we are sitting, is right here, this location. So this is the back of the steakhouse, located right here. This is residences in orange, that is parking, that is wrapped by the residences, and then that is office that's in the blue. And then clearly everything on the first floor is active first floor, meaning I use the word retail, likely to be restaurants and service, and where there's the opportunity for retail, we obviously are very attracted to that. Yes?
Can you walk us through maybe the decision behind only going 5 stories or 6 stories versus much higher?
Well, we have another place that we were thinking about, some greater height, and I'll share that with you in the other block. And we felt that was closer to, the question was, why would you not consider greater height there on those residences that are there in the orange? And for us, we think that the third block is the place where you really do the height, and this allows us to have right now 2 differentiated products, one that does have height and then one that's more of a low rise. And we believe they benefit each other by happening together versus waiting for one to fully stabilize and then do the next one, because then you're basically living and working in a construction site, and you'll already know that's not desirable for anybody. So our desire is to try to get those going closer together in time. Yes?
You showed a picture earlier of the Publix building with the residents.
Yes.
445 residents.
Yes.
The 445, were they in the Publix building?
They were in the Publix building, yes.
So how many more residents?
This is in the 250 to 300 range.
Okay.
And again, these are studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and occasional 3 bedrooms.
So are they going to be apartments or condominiums? Or
they are going to be residences for rent, so apartments, yes.
Okay.
Yes?
So, does Publix take up the whole first floor of the first building?
It does.
Okay. So there won't be any other retail?
So I'm sorry, there's about 3,000 square feet of retail that's located there at the corner of Johnson and Harrington.
So not a whole lot, but there could be something in it. I mean,
Right,
that's one
right
of
in this area, and so and what I'm going to show you some more, some prettier stuff than what I just showed you. What is happening here, we want to make sure that the retail and the restaurants here is connecting here, and we want this to connect to here. So that's the mindset that we're using in our design.
Because that's one thing we're lacking is the retail here in Glenwood South. So we're hoping that this will provide more.
So just for the way we think, a grocer brings people to do trips.
It does.
And it does bring then shoppers.
Yes.
So the opportunity to bring retail now is greater.
And that's going to change the whole complex of the neighborhood.
Correct, and so that's the opportunity where you can bring in retail and services. Is this going to be fashion goods? I can't say that. That would seem less likely, but it also just depends on the interest. The interest that we had in the Dillon blew us away. It really did, and that's only 7-8 blocks from here. And Chris and I have had lots of conversations about where there seems to be some of this pent-up demand, if it's done right, for some good retail.
Will West have a turn lane added, or right now it's only a 2-lane, right? Is that correct?
Right now, West is a connector all the way down to the Union Station, all the way to Peace, yes.
But it's only 2 lanes, right?
Yes, and I believe there's a presentation that's
later
sometime today. Is that right? Talking about West?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, okay. And so we're just as excited to learn what's happening with West, but everything that we understand and are excited to see is that there is pedestrian and bicycle and vehicle, so that all of that becoming a corridor connector, and really West being a very important street for all 3 of those uses, being able to go back and forth. Yes?
Are you going to be able to turn west on Harrington's and Peace?
Are you able to turn, so coming off of Capitol?
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, going down Johnson or right on.
Going down Johnson.
Right on to Harrington, you're asking, right?
You can go right onto Harrington, or a left onto Harrington, and you can come down to West and do the same thing.
But what about Harrington and Peace?
Down here at Harrington and Peace? Yes. You can go toward Seaboard, or you can go toward Mellow Mushroom.
But isn't that going to block traffic? I mean, that was the problem that we were supposed to.
I think we have some fellows with the DOT here that I know are going to be better at talking about this than I. But that's the real beauty of the timing of this, is while there is a lot of construction activity that's been going on at the road, it's the same time as our project. It's in a bizarre way, it's akin to the work that was going on at Union Station and Dillon. They were crossing each other at the same time, and it's nice when it happens together. It's more of a pain while it's happening, but then when it's done, you really get the benefit of not having to stagger. Yes?
With all these residents, you're going to have a lot of dogs.
Yes.
Have you got green space for these dogs? Because one of the problems we're seeing downtown here in Glenwood is we've got these big apartment complexes with no green space.
Yes.
And the animals have no place to go.
We couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's one of the things you want to pay attention to, is what's happening around, clearly, the trees that we've planted, and then where can you create the green spaces for that. So we fully agree. It's one of the things Chris and I were having a conversation earlier about. Our city can't be one of those places where it's just the cement sidewalks.
So you've got some space allocated in your project for green space?
It has been in all the conversations, yes.
Plus the new park on the north side of Peace Street, so Devereaux Meadows.
The Devereaux Meadows as well will be a fantastic area. All right, let me move us and show you something a little prettier than those blocks. So this is just a sketch, a pencil sketch of what the office would look like. That's where it has some coloring to it. That is roughly 225,000 square feet of office space. It's about the same amount of office as the Dillon. It's just not sitting on top of a parking structure. So this is a building that's in the 10-story range. One of the things we've been very focused on is we really have liked what's happened in some of the neighborhoods in Chicago and DC, of really putting something together that has some of the industrial and some of the warehouse pull in, and also making it attractive for what I call most of the new economy companies that are wanting their employees to be excited about where they work. And again, as I told you up front, I'm sharing things with you that are right on our drawing boards. I figured that would be a better way to go at that than to show you a cube and say, we'll let you know when we get to it. But I'm letting you inside on some of what's happening in our development process. And so what we go back and forth on is we're looking at what are the mullions. Are they more squared or are they asymmetry? What's the better coloring, the black or the gray or the rust color? And those are the type of discussions that we go through, and also paying attention to how does it relate to the buildings that are next to it. One of the things I'm getting ready to show you is what's happening on the first floor, and that really has been our whole focus over the last 3 to 4 months. Is the first floor has to be fantastic. And that means we've got to make sure we're creating places that the retailers, the restaurateurs, the service providers, they want to be there and that they're going to be successful being there. And the way they're going to be successful there is because one, some good design, but it's also what's the place around it feel like, so that other people want to go there. And then we actually have what is, again, going back to the keys of placemaking. So this is a drone, flying over. A shot is what this would show, and this is showing you where the parking is. It's just a different view from what you were seeing. This is along west. Obviously it's got a lot of length there, and so anything we can do to cut that up so that it doesn't feel so long. This is a key access into what we're creating, an internal area that's a plaza that's got some space to it, that then you have restaurants opening up internal there. And so we see this needs to be a great height. I think this is right now in the 20 to 30 feet height of a egress coming in, where it would be a one-way car that would be coming off, I believe this is Tucker, that would be coming in. This would be very slow traffic with some parallel parks, and then you pull into the deck to go park if you're coming there to dine, or if you're going there to work, or if you're going there to live. One of the things that we're really focused on is, what does this look like when you're up at Sullivan's looking down? We really want it to feel like it's a park, and that there's this sort of wanting you to, be teased to let's go see what's down there. So you see a restaurant happening here, and you see a restaurant happening here, and then inside there you see the same thing, so that you start to really have the continuation of all the exciting things on the walkability side that we've had in Glenwood South. So like I said, we're sharing 280 residences is the number, so I was mistaken on my number, so it's just close to that 300 range. This is one of the areas inside, call it that plaza. We haven't named it. And this is one of the renderings I mentioned that we just added some this afternoon, so I hadn't seen this one. But we had some pretty good pencil ones without color, and it looks like we were able to get the designers to get that done for this meeting, because we were trying to get things prepared so that you could see the concepts. But really, this is another opening further down from Tucker, so we've got two big openings off of West that want to pull you in so that it doesn't feel like it's this long building there. You've got good height, trying to do something that's creative in the art area. And again, these are, I'd say their backs are backing up to someone that's fronting on West. I'll show you a plan that'll explain that better, but recall this image when I show you the next plan. This then is opening up to an area, but this really doesn't have public street exposure. So this is the kiss of death design, unless we design this all really well. Meaning it's a place that you want to go into. There's something that's pulling you there, and then this could be the best spot of all spots, because it's right there on, call it this urban common area. This is the same look through. The Sullivan Steakhouse is located here, looking down that direction. Again, just giving you a feel for what that could look like. There's about 40 to 45,000 square feet of additional retail on both of these. So we're kind of looking at this as one project in this phase 2, both the offices and the residences. So again, this is that open area that I was talking about, and this was the space that you were seeing and that was being referenced. So this is an internal space. This is not a road. This is all for pedestrian activity. So where do the cars drive? The cars drive along West. The cars come through on what we hope is a one-way continuation of Tucker, pulling in the parking deck. We're going over here to Harrington, and then this is Johnson Street. Very gracious setback from the curb here at this corner of what is Johnson and Harrington. A feeling of openness that's cutting through here. 2 retail locations, 3 more retail locations, and then another openness. So really trying to pay attention to the connectivity on this side. Now this is what I was looking at till I saw the other one. So we don't have them all rendered yet. But again, it's just a core part of our belief. You have to think through where the umbrella's going, where the park bench is going, where the planter's going. How do you make sure this is an attractive place for people to want to be, and for then the merchants that are located there to be successful? Another image example of that. This is another area there. Conscious of time, and so this is something that has just been done here as of Friday. Again, sharing something with you right off the drawing board. This isn't necessarily the coloring on the office that we're still working on different things, but this is getting close to a direction that we're really starting to think about. These are the 2 openings that I was mentioning to you coming off of West. You can see that there is a pretty urban gap there between the office building and the residences. You can see where the parking's located, and then you can see this connectivity on Johnson with what is the Peace Project that I showed at the beginning of this. And then we do have a phase 3. It's the other land just on the other side of Harrington, between Capitol, Harrington, and what is Peace. I'll just show you the location. We don't have plans for that. We do believe, someone asked, why aren't we doing more height in phase 2? We believe this is the place you do height. We believe that this is a gateway coming in. I think that I see some city councilors that are here, and we think that this is really an opportunity that if you're going to do some real height, this is a great place to do it as a gateway coming in. Everyone may not agree with that. That's our thoughts, and obviously that would have to go through a rezoning and have a discussion on that. We don't know when that'll happen, but we do see this as a place that you could have an opportunity for offices, for residences, even for a hotel, and then of course we're always committed to having active first floors. So this is how we talk about this area. Again, the phase 1 is the Peace Project, which is delivering in mid-2020. Phase 2, which would be starting in mid-19, and then phase 3 to be determined. And again, one of the things that we've been talking about, and I know is later in this program, is what is going on with Devereaux Park, which is Devereaux Meadows, which is down at this location. What is going on with West? That's what's going on at this location. So we really see in all our design what matters and what's critical is we need to make sure Glenwood South can get to the park. We need to make sure everybody who's going up and down West, coming, call it from the Dillon type area in the warehouse district, can easily get to the park. And so our design is trying to make sure that that's an easy path to get through. And I think that's it. Any other questions? We're asking questions during the conversation. Yes?
On phase 2, when do you expect to have that built out?
Most projects end up, it seems, taking about 24 months. Those offices probably could happen in 18 months. But again, starting that in mid-19. Yes?
Have you leased out the 3,000 square feet on the corner there that's not public?
We have not.
Okay.
Yeah.
When
Yes.
does the park start?
The park is the Devereaux Meadows Park. I don't know. I think there's someone who's having a conversation on that. Things we've heard is, that's been a construction staging area for a lot of the public work, and sort of a phase 1 of something that can be used, and then possibly what's the real ultimate vision of something further down the road. Both sound wonderful to us. Okay, thank you.
who's the planning director for the city of Raleigh. We're happy to have Ken here tonight, and you've been set up on a number of things. They want to know what's going on at Devereaux Park and some of the other things.
Sure, I'm gonna borrow this aerial because it's useful.
Yeah.
You don't mind?
No, absolutely.
So I was asked to give sort of an update as to what's going on with the interchange. I'll leave the engineering detail for the representative from the CDOT. You do have someone here tonight.
Right here. Yeah. Right here in the front row.
So I want to talk a little bit about the genesis of the project, and it has two genesis, one of which is that the original bridges here that carried capital fees were built, I think, around 1962, and they aged out, and they built what engineers call both basically structurally deficient. They were the structure needed to be replaced because if we didn't do it, eventually they would fall down, and then also the design was out of date. The whole geometry of the interchange didn't meet modern standards for roadway design. This is one of the first urban freeways in North Carolina, probably a similar vintage to say Wendover Avenue and Greensboro, and the whole geometry of this thing was when we were still learning how to build highways. It was designed in the 50s. The area here you've heard referred to as Smoky Hollow, and the current street pattern where Harrington kind of loops around and dead ends in the west is actually the product of a 1960s urban renewal plan that was a slum clearance project that went federal money that basically wiped out a bunch of dilapidated houses that were originally homes for railroad brokers because this is a big center of rail transportation. And it was called Smoky Hollow because in the steam locomotive days it was in a hollow, and the smoke from the engines would gather here, and that was the origin of the name Smoky Hollow. So starting in 2010 and ending with the adoption of the City Council adopting a corridor plan, we did a corridor study of Capitol Boulevard from where it begins at the Dawson-McDowell split up to 440, trying to take a hard look at the infrastructure here and reimagine the corridor. And I won't go into all the details of the plan, but at the time we were cognizant of the fact that these bridges were coming in for replacement, and this was an excellent time to try to leverage a federally funded project to meet some other goals. And the big things we were trying to do here was we had this surplus city property that used to be the old solid waste yard and vehicle yard north of P Street that we were moving out of because we built a new remote operations center off of Westinghouse Boulevard, kind of near the intersection of 440 and Capitol, just north of 440. So it was going to be surplus property. It was all sitting in the floodplain, and so from an environmental standpoint, turning it into the parkland as opposed to development was the highest and best use. And we wanted more room for the park, and this ramp was kind of in the way. And also, this ramp is very short, and it dumps you down to an unsignalized intersection where most of the people are trying to take a left, particularly in the morning, to get to the state government complex. So you have traffic backing up, sometimes all the way onto Capitol Boulevard as people are queuing to make that unsignalized left. And we also thought that the current block pattern here from the urban renewal plan wasn't really conducive to redevelopment. The nice thing about city blocks is that most buildings are mostly rectangular. So rectangular shaped blocks are good for development, and corners are good for development and good for retail because corners have a higher level of visibility. So if we can make more blocks and we have more corners and we have more rectangular sites, and hopefully that was at least part of the thing that the projects you just seen or responding to was trying to create a better pattern of land subdivision that would lend itself to redevelopment in the future. And I would have to say that what was presented tonight definitely exceeded the expectations we had when we were trying to think about how to reconfigure this. The other nice thing about redesigning this was because this is an urban condition and freeways are typically hostile to urban sites, we wanted to make the ramp infrastructure actually complete the street grid, be a part of the street grid. And it was an idea that we got from looking at a development in Charleston, South Carolina that did this, and also looking at some precedents. I mentioned Wendover Avenue. It has a lot of these types of interchanges called square loops. And by expanding the footprint of the interchange, you're actually creating development sites within what would normally be forgotten land within it. And by squaring it off, you're also meaning the traffic, as soon as it's in the street grid, has to slow to city speeds. And you're designing these not as pieces of highway infrastructure, but as ramps. And so, I mean, but as parts of the street grid. So now, what's going to happen is that instead of exiting here, you're going to exit here. When you get to this intersection, you can go south, you can go north, you can continue west, and it's going to diffuse traffic into this grid compared to the current situation, which creates a real points of congestion right here at this interchange. So that was the major thinking about it. And in terms of the status of where we are, as you can see from this aerial, what the DOT has been doing is, since we can't tear down the bridge and wait a year to replace it because of the traffic volumes, they're building a facility, the new facility next to the old facility, and when it's finally ready, they'll be rerouting traffic onto the new facility and then demolishing the old facility. This is happening both here and at Wade Avenue. The Wade Avenue is basically kind of reproducing the existing interchange design with more generous curves, but this is something new. And my understanding is that starting tonight, this is going to be closed, and they're going to start rerouting the southbound traffic here. And so, starting sometime tonight, is it tomorrow? Tomorrow night. Okay, sorry, tomorrow night, Tuesday night, you can actually get to use this. And personally, having looked at this thing now for going on 8 or 10 years, I'm really excited to actually test it out and see what the experience is like to drive on it. The other things that are being changed is this bridge is going to have a lot more generous room under it for good pedestrian and bicycle facilities. So as you know, P Street is one of the few places to get across town on foot or by bike. You don't get another opportunity to do that till you get down to Lane Street. And of course, Lane Street doesn't even connect all the way into Glenwood Avenue. So it's a really important east-west connection, and it's not the most pleasant walking experience in the world today, and it's a fairly frightening cycling experience, which I know, having actually cycled it usually early in the morning when traffic is light. So these will be improved. It will not be perfect. There is one other choke point on here, which is the CSX Railroad Bridge. The CSX Railroad Bridge is not changing as part of this project. It's the railroad. We can't really, it's the railroad, so I'm not going to say anything else. So that bridge is staying exactly as it is for the foreseeable future. Same with all these other bridges here. So Devereaux Meadows Park was mentioned. I'll just talk a little bit about where this is because a lot of stuff is happening at once. So in the last parks bond, there was $300,000 set aside in that bond to do environmental work and to do planning work. And phase 1 environmental has been done. There are issues on the site. Some of the issues have migrated from a gas station across Capitol Boulevard onto the site, and some of the issues are related to the historic use as a vehicular yard for the city. And so some cleanup will be necessary, and which will cost some money, but we're going to look at that and what level of cleanup is necessary depending on the type of use that's being done. Eventually, this infrastructure and all this pavement will be removed from the park, and the Parks Department will use the remaining money in that bond allocation to launch into a park planning process, which will include some more detailed engineering studies as well as the actual design process for the park, which follows a fairly rigorous process, and where still be ample opportunities for public input. In terms of funding this, we have to do something about the environmental conditions because we're also doing a major sewer project parallel to the Pigeon House branch, which is the stream, and our stormwater division wants to do a fairly significant stream restoration and naturalize the stream. It's basically coming under a culvert right here, and it's coming out around this area, and it runs in a covered culvert, open culvert for a while. It's covered again. That's where the ballpark used to be. If you want to walk up in there, you can kind of see what it looks like, and then it emerges as this is sort of this drainage way. It's very straight and linear and very prone to flash flooding. So what we want to try to do is introduce some meanders and some naturalization into that channel and create out of the park a floodplain that will provide water storage during those flood events. I can't promise that it will entirely solve the problem of this low-lying area, but it should make it significantly better and less prone to flooding and take a larger rain to flood out P Street than it does today. So the nice thing about that is that there's multiple objectives being served, so there's multiple pots of money from which such a thing could be paid. Partly a utility project, partly a stormwater environmental restoration project, and partly a park project. So That's what we're looking at. The West Street itself is, the city sees as a very critical street. Right now, it runs south and it terminates at the railroad junction where Raleigh Union Station is, and it starts diving down, and there is a plan to eventually take it under that railroad junction and connect it south of the tracks. And that will provide a gateway to Dix Park and to the areas south of the tracks, which are starting to see a lot of development and revitalization. To the north, our long-term plan was to eventually take it up and over Wade Avenue and run it parallel to Capitol as far as Wake Forest Road. And the reason why we wanted to do that was we wanted to provide bike and ped connectivity in the 5 points that doesn't currently exist. To do that, we have to replace the current ramps that carry Fairview Road onto southbound Capitol with nothing, with actually terminated at the extended West Street and use the bridge that carries west over Wade as a replacement for those bridges. We're going to wait until those bridges are up for replacement because that gets that project mostly paid for out of federal funds instead of local money. And I can't predict exactly when that'll be other than to say that those bridges are of similar age to these, except they're not nearly as heavily used. They only carry about a couple thousand cars a day, which is unusual for highway ramps. So that is a longer term play, but we would like to make West Street more central and kind of a local alternative. The other wild card is that in the Wake Transit planning process, when they were looking at bus rapid transit corridor ideas, the consultants looked at that idea of extending West Street and said, hey, this would make a fabulous busway to channel all the buses into downtown Raleigh from the north. And so that's under study right now with the major investment study. And there's also a study called the Downtown Transportation Operations Study that's looking at these new bus services and bus rapid transit. Once they get to downtown, how do they navigate? One of the alternatives is to come straight down West Street. So there's a potential that part of West Street will be allocated for busways. They're also looking at Harrington Street as an alternative. The other option is to stay on Capitol and come in this way. We are looking, though, that some sort of transit facility here is necessary to serve all the stuff that's coming. And it might end up in the footprint, say, on this side between the railroad track or somewhere else, but these are among the alternatives that are being studied. The other thing that's being studied right now in terms of cycling infrastructure is because of the importance, because of the connection to Dix Park, should West Street be a cycle track? And there actually is a pilot project that has been approved and is winding its way through implementation to do a temporary installation of the cycle track, which is essentially a protected two-way bike facility on West Street. Now, at the end of the day, not all of these things can fit on little old West Street, so there'll have to be some priorities. Some priorities will have to be chosen, and I think the transit plan will be one of the major driving factors of that, and I can't really say exactly how the alternatives will land at this point physically on the ground. What I can say, though, is that there's a lot of transportation stuff that's focused on this very spot that's all happening in the next few years. The only other thing, there were some questions I understand about how are we treating these intersections at West Street and at Cleveland Avenue. And my transportation folks tell me that a signal of Johnson Street and West Street is proposed and planned, but this is proposed to just be the stop control with the priority given to West Street, meaning there be stop signs on Johnson Street. However,
did you mean Johnson and Glenwood?
Yeah, Johnson and Glenwood, I'm sorry. Yeah, Johnson and Glenwood. Johnson wants to be stop control. Johnson and Glenwood is programmed to have a traffic signal. My guess, though, is that, traffic signals are based on warrants. Warrants are based on counting cars. We're not really going to know exactly how this will function until it's up and running and cars start using it, and after which we'll have data. And then I think the city, as well as DOT, will be able to take a look and decide whether the current intersection treatments are working or need modification. So with that, given where we are at time, I'll take any questions you have. Yes?
In the short term, if you're on West Street traveling north on a bike or walking and you want to get to the 5 Points area, how will that work?
You want to
cross over Wade Avenue?
You can't.
So
well, no, actually, they are going to, as part of the Wade Avenue bridge replacement, we are threading a little greenway segment under the bridge. It's not ideal, but it'll work. But you'll have to cross the on-ramp to get to it because we're not bridging anything. That's the short-term solution. it's not a great solution, but it's better than what we have right now, which is nothing, and no ability to cross way down in 1 foot. So it will get you under that bridge, but you'll still have to cross 2 ramps. Fortunately, they're just 1 lane, but you know, they're not controlled, so you have to wait for a gap in the traffic and dash across, which is not an ideal pedestrian condition.
Any kind of lights or anything to slow the cars in? Any kind of pedestrian safety, bike safety, like a crosswalk? Will there be a crosswalk?
I believe there's a striped crosswalk for that facility, but there's no I'm not aware of any flashing lights, certainly no stop there. That's because people are accelerating to merge on the Capitol. So there'll be, yeah. I mean, long term, getting people up and over is the way to do that. Connectivity in 5 points is a real problem. When we did the Capitol Boulevard study, we looked at many options for how you might bridge over Capitol with a bike and pedestrian facility. The 2 problems are the rail yards are so big, and you have to clear them at a height to meet their specifications. You have to start going up in the air way inboard of the neighborhoods to do it, and it's ruinously expensive. So we just decided there was no particularly great way to do it. From Warwick, probably the best way to do it would be the tunnel under Marshall Street, but then again, digging a tunnel under the railroad is not an easy thing to do. So we're looking to piggyback on infrastructure investments that have to be made otherwise and incorporate those improvements into them.
I'm really talking, we get a north-south greenway, you know, from downtown up to Crabtree Creek, you know, along Pigeon House. Is that ever going to happen?
Yeah, it's just going to take a while. I mean, so
I'm not getting any younger.
The whole point of the West Street extension was to get you out to Wake Forest Road, which you didn't have to cross. We still have a bridge under the railroad between Wake Forest and Atlantic that has public right-of-way under it that was never surrendered. There's some private property on the other side where we did close the street and we now have to buy it back. But there is a crossing under the railroad there that gets you up close to Watkins Grill and the Circus Burger. And then there's a proposal for a trail in what we call the North Boulevard Park, which would run between Wake Forest Road, Atlantic Avenue, and Crabtree Boulevard. This will be an interesting thing to stay tuned for, because I just found out a few weeks ago that the bridges that carry Capitol over Wake Forest Road are going to be up for replacement, and that whole park plan was predicated on realigning the northbound lanes of Capitol and the southbound alignment, so instead of being split with all this stuff in the median, you made it more like the segment to the south, and then you could have a park that was connected to the Belvedere Park neighborhood on the other side without having to cross a highway to get to it. So we've already bought up a lot of property. You probably noticed that the old motels that were up there are gone. The bowling alley has been gone for a while. It's been reseeded and greened up. That was another floodplain restoration project, and I've got some great video on my phone of after a big thunderstorm passed by one summer. You know, that was an area that would have flooded out all the property, but it was just flood waters in a green space, and there was no property damage that worked the way it was supposed to. So we're pretty pleased with how that's progressed. But we're trying to stitch these trail segments together. That is the long-term plan, but the thing is, by being able to piggyback on these federally funded infrastructure projects, it makes it radically cheaper for the city. And so it's hard for me to recommend that we accelerate the process, knowing that could cost us $20 million that we would not have to spend if we were able to do all this stuff kind of in concert with the bridge replacements like we did here. We did have to put local money into this because it was more expensive than replicating the existing condition, but it was way less than if we had to fund the entire project ourselves. Thank you. Yes?
What's the park there, the Demeraux Park? What's the anticipated completion of that?
Well, we have to have a design first. So I think the goal would be to put capital money in the next parks bond. And, you know, optimistically, it might be 2022 or 2023 that we would have an actual park there. But there's you know, we have to design it and fund it and then build it. So right now we're still in the exploratory stage. I mean, it's going to happen, but it's going to take a while.
All right, we'll take one more, and we've got some more people.
You mentioned that you
these roads are narrow, which is great. It's great for pedestrian experience. But I wonder, is there a city position or a mission to prioritize walkers and cyclists over on-street parking in this neighborhood?
There is a city-adopted bike and ped plan, and the city standard that whenever you build a new building, you have to have 14-foot sidewalks. So all these new buildings that have gone in have resulted in much wider sidewalks than the existing condition. When you have limited space, something has to give, right? So we have attempted wherever we can to slot these facilities in while still preserving on-street and on-street parking. But sometimes you have to make a choice, and there's usually a public process around those specific street designs that we weigh those, and sometimes parking wins and sometimes the bike facility wins. So I wouldn't say that it's a city mission to always replace on-street parking with bike facilities, but it does happen sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't.
Thank you. So we have now we have the North Carolina Department of Transportation. They're going to tell us what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow night? Is that it?
We hope tomorrow.
Okay. This is Jeremy Warren. He's a resident engineer for NCDOT. They're performing.
Use your stuff too.
They're performing the Capitol Boulevard work, and so he's going to appreciate him coming in tonight for the meeting. And there you go.
All right. Thanks for having me. And basically everything I was going to talk about pretty much just got talked about. Obviously the Square Loop's going to be open. We're shooting for tomorrow night. Everything looks like it's on schedule right now, but I hate to give a hard deadline because everybody knows how construction works. We'll hit a water main or something bad will happen. You know how that goes. The great thing about the opening this will be shutting down the ramp coming off of Capitol now, and it'll bring everyone around to a signalized intersection, so you'll no longer have to turn across traffic without a signal. And coming off of Johnson onto Harrington will be a free flow movement, so that you won't have to stop, so it should not back traffic up onto Capitol Boulevard like what we have happening right now.
Is that in both directions, free flow, coming off of?
No, man, it's coming off of Capitol will be free flow, so you'll either be able to turn onto Harrington either direction, free flow. You'll have to stop when you come up to turn left and go on Johnson to go up on the Capitol. This will be a stop sign. If you're coming this direction, it'll be a stop sign right here, and then you can make the left-hand turn. And the other thing we have coming is with Wade Avenue, which was also mentioned, that we're going to be shutting down that bridge and replacing both ramps if you're heading on Capitol North, so that we can get everybody on that bridge.
What's the timeline on that? Is that pretty close?
We were originally looking October 8th, and I think we're still on track to go right now, October 8th. So yeah, everything's coming very quickly now. Those are our two major things coming up right now. And like I said, basically everything I got talked about, so my job is easy tonight. Yes, sir.
The new bridge construction over Peace, is that the extent of the new bridge, or when the old road is taken down, is that going to widen even further?
It'll widen even further. That's about half of the new bridge. It's now we have to get people onto that bridge so we can demolish what's there and then continue the next section.
So this exit will close.
Yes, sir.
But you'll still be able to get on going south?
No. Everything you're gonna turn and to get on. You're gonna go up here and go on. You're gonna turn on to Harrington.
So
and then a left
so
on
both
Johnson.
the exit and the entrance
This
are closed.
whole ramp will go away.
Okay.
It will not
Tomorrow.
be here anymore. Yes.
or in the next day or two.
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning. Okay, so everybody will be coming this way, getting on and off of Capitol.
Yes, sir.
That wasn't clear from the newspaper articles and stuff, because it didn't mention.
Yeah, that ramp completely goes away. It will no longer be used.
Okay. And this road is not open.
No, sir.
So they'll come off here and they've got to make a right or a left.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this road will be built as part of the county property.
Yeah, we didn't.
Town road.
When is that?
The Johnson Road will be open up
Which will
when
be over-
construction's
actually over here.
complete on phase 1. So that'll be in the spring of 2020 when Johnson opens.
Spring of 2020. Okay.
The Harrington's too very short.
So, and the light will start operating here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Should be a fairly simple movement, and the sign will be out there, we'll have message boards out, so.
So when you're coming off Peace to go get up onto Capitol Boulevard,
Yes, ma'am.
is there a stop sign at that corner
When you get to Harrington, there will be a stop sign, and you will turn left onto Johnson, and it'll take you up, and you will merge on to Capitol Boulevard.
But the traffic coming off of Capitol is free flow in both directions?
Yes, ma'am. So it's just like most of your retail facilities now. The incoming traffic does not stop. You stop and have to watch and turn across it.
Thank you.
The entrance over here, that's not going to be affected.
As of not as of now.
That's is that the next one?
Yes, the next ramp is going to be on Capitol Boulevard northbound.
When will that be?
Sometime later this year.
Yeah, sometime later this year they'll get started on it.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said about a signal on Glenwood and Johnson. Are we going to get a signal, because there's traffic coming in on Johnson, is going to be heading towards Glenwood?
Not yet.
Yeah, is there going to be?
That was what Ken mentioned.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't know if that was part of you as
No.
well. Okay. That's just
Sorry,
okay.
I can't help you with that.
Are there 2 lanes coming in on Johnson so that you have a right turn lane and a left turn lane separate? Or does
No, it's 2 lanes.
The two lanes come in right here, and you have a right and left turn coming
and
down.
then you have a third
2
lane for the people going.
Yes, and there's a third lane going.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Harrington,
All right.
Johnson to Capitol.
Moving right along, Chris Larson
Easy.
is President and CEO of Downtown Raleigh Alliance, DRA, nonprofit organization. They are cooperate with us. Their partner, Chris, is on our board here at GSNC. We are so happy to have him as part of our organization and have him at DRA. And what is even nicer is he actually lives in Glenwood South. So we really appreciate the work that he's doing in the collaboration.
Thank you so much, Larry. And before I put on my slide deck, I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of this Johnson Street connection. So this will be a new connection that is going to be the off-ramp from Capitol, and Johnson's going to connect not only through West, but then eventually through Glenwood Avenue, right? That's a thumbs up from everybody?
Yes.
How are we doing? We're like an hour and a half in. We're doing good. I promise I am second to
There's
last.
more.
You got me and Captain Vestal, and then...
There's more food and wine.
Is there more beer?
There's more beer.
Okay. Yeah, my presentations get way better if you get full tummies. Let's see. Okay, so for those of you who are not aware, I became the CEO of the Downtown Raleigh Alliance about 9 months ago. My immediate charge was to develop a new strategic plan for our organization. And that strategic plan is centered around this new mission statement. So this mission is really the MO for what we're doing as an organization and as a community, is really thinking about the many different interests that call downtown Raleigh home. And certainly in this room, there's a diversity of different types of stakeholders, and I think that this balance, as helped to be represented by an organization like GSNC, is exactly what we're working to build together. So it's all about this notion of inclusion, and it's centered around 5 key goals. And so I really just want to highlight a couple of things that we're working on in partnership with GSNC and specific to the Glenwood South neighborhood tonight. But our first goal is all around this notion of engagement and inclusion. One of those things that we've recently launched is something called Downtown Rundown. So how many of you are downtown residents, by show of hands? So hopefully today you received an email, if you're on the DLA distribution list, to invite you to this new series of engagement conversations that we're having with the community called the Downtown Rundown. We're doing 4 different types of these with different constituencies in downtown. And this is all about maintaining an ongoing dialogue. And so it's not just when there's a policy or a project that we want to talk to you. We want to keep the conversation going so that when those opportunities to collaborate come together, we already have those relationships to build off with one another. Also launching a new website. We're very excited about that, and that is going to debut in December of this year. So if any of you have visited our website recently, it looks a lot like it did in 2008, because that's the last time we built a new website. And so we are going to be updating that, and we're very excited about that. We've also recently rebadged and relaunched our ambassador program. So we're formally in the red uniforms. You'll now see in these blue uniforms. And it's really about helping to transition these individuals to focusing on engagement with all of you. And so I communicate with them that my expectation is that they learn your names. They learn your dog's names. They learn what kind of dog treat your dog's like, so that when they encounter you, it helps to reinforce that neighborhood identity that we're working to build, not only here in Glenwood South, but across all of downtown Raleigh. Our second goal is gets back into the core of a lot of what we do, a lot of our specialization, and that gets into working with new businesses. And the majority of the types of new businesses that we work with are small businesses that are opening throughout the downtown. We've had a lot of openings this year. So in 2018 alone, we've had 34 new businesses that have opened. More than 40% of those have been dining. We continue to do very well in dining throughout the downtown. But then you can also see retail. So retail is the fastest growing segment of our downtown storefront economy. And the reason for that is because of all of you who have come to live in downtown. And so what makes retail work starts with residents. And the greater density that we can build in our neighborhoods, the more retail we can support it. So we're certainly seeing that begin to emerge. And then you can see new businesses by district. So Glenwood South has had the highest percentage of new businesses opening through 2018, followed by Fable Street. And of course, as Mike and his team mentioned, the Publix opening is going to be huge for Glenwood South. My wife and I are lucky to call Glenwood South home. Our dog Penelope selected a condo in the Paramount, and she let us live with her. So we do have to walk her a few times around the neighborhood each day. So many of you probably recognize me from those dog walks. But we're very excited about the grocery store and, of course, other amenities happening in our downtown. And, of course, food and beverage sales continue to grow. And so this is a downtown storefront economy that has been driven by food and beverage, and the retail is really starting to catch up now. And you can see that they continue to grow year-to-date sales through September of this year, just even relative to last year. So last year we set a new high watermark for food and beverage sales in downtown at over $220 million, and that trend continues to grow throughout the downtown. Some other things that we're going to be doing as an organization, we've rebadged First Friday. So this Friday, all throughout downtown, you'll see these brand new flags unifying all of that look and feel throughout the more than 100 businesses that participate. And then we're doing some cool things for Christmas time. So we're doing some personal shopping experiences. The idea is that somebody might work downtown or visit downtown, and they might want to keep their dollars downtown or just don't want to go to the mall. But they're looking for some recommendations about how to understand what a lot of these small businesses offer inside. And this is about us helping people make that transition from outside of the storefront and into one. Oftentimes, that can make an individual nervous because they're not sure about what that experience might be like. And it's about helping them make that transition. And so we're very excited about that. Our third goal in our strategic plan is all about balanced activations. And this is really recognizing the change that our community has gone through from the 2000s, where we utilize special events as a mechanism to help people rediscover their downtown. And you have to remember, this was a downtown, this was a city that had lost its main street for more than 30 years when Fable Street turned into a pedestrian mall. And so the reopening of that street marked this reintroduction of our community at large with downtown. And we utilized events as a way to encourage people to rediscover their downtown. And quite frankly, it worked, right? Many of us now call downtown home. come downtown to work. We see all this new investment that's happening through our downtown, and it's great, but we also want to make sure that we are balancing the needs of the folks that call downtown home every day with those that come visit a few times a year. And so that's a lot of the work that we're doing. We've had some exciting new events, the first of which we launched today at the outdoor office over at Raleigh Union Station. So this is an outdoor co-working facility that people can just take their laptops. We've got free Wi-Fi, we've got surprise treats and coffee that are available, and it's a great way just to get outside and enjoy the downtown. A couple other projects I want to mention, and this is, I think, some that are really appropriate for this community. So tomorrow at City Council, we will be bringing our interactive kiosk experience project to City Council, hoping for their approval. So this would, if approved, it'll give us the green light to advance 15 of these interactive wayfinding experiences throughout the downtown. This is a really great tool, particularly recognizing that traditional wayfinding is obsolete the moment it's printed. And oftentimes it doesn't even begin to reflect the private businesses that call downtown home. It might have major staples of public attraction, but it doesn't have that private business community. And so this is a tool that our team can help to maintain an accurate database at all times. It also can give you connections to every possible transportation option, provides opportunities for civic engagement, so it's a really great tool to help people explore the downtown. And then there's this project. So before I started, I asked you to remember that street that was going to cut through. What was that street called? Johnson. Okay? So Johnson Street is going to cut through, and today Johnson Street feels a little bit like this. Right, so we've got this railroad trestle. We've got 3 of them specifically in downtown Raleigh that cut across some of our east-west streets. And with this as a new entryway into Glenwood South, we see this as an opportunity for a mural project. So I'm proud to have been working with GSNC to get us to this point. And right now we are exploring the concept of transforming this into basically an archway entrance into Glenwood South. And so thinking about the opportunity to drop our neighborhood name across the steel and then paint those concrete plinths that are holding up the railroad trestle. And thinking about a mural opportunity. So really helping to embody, I think, that artistic vibe that makes Glenwood South what it is, and looking for local muralists to help to do that type of work. Yes, sir.
Does that include any lighting?
At the time, we're not even thinking about lighting. We're right now, we've gotten approval from the railroad to advance the project, and so that was a big first win. And so I'm working with Larry and Sue and a number of others on thinking about the specific design. So we're just not there yet, but it absolutely could. So we're very excited about this project, and this is one that we want to get done in time for when Johnson Street opens. So when we have all of that new traffic that's visiting our community, that's a type of experience that we want to help to co-create so that they recognize that they are entering into our downtown neighborhood. And so lastly is this idea of transitioning. Some of you might have heard of things like our membership model. One of the things that I am doing with the organization is moving away from membership, and I know that was an issue that I think divided some businesses in downtown. So we're no longer going to have members as an organization. The way I look at it is that if you're in downtown, you are a member of what we do, and so we want to have a broader tent, and we want to invite more people to be a part of our projects and working with community, because it's really all of you, your power, your brain power, your ideas, and your passion for downtown Raleigh. That is the most valuable resource that I really want to harness, and so that's a big part of our work moving forward. So that's a little bit about what we're up to at the Downtown Raleigh Alliance, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Yes, ma'am. Angela.
This is all very exciting, and I was wondering, with all the people in this room, what is the proper way to address the trash in Glenwood South? You know, Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, we love the bars and the restaurants, but there's just it seems like a terrible amount of trash on Glenwood South. I walk over to Fayetteville Street, it seems much cleaner.
Yeah.
Put the right format.
Thank you for presenting that. So we do have Jen Baker in the room. So Jen manages Team Downtown Raleigh. They are a city department that helps to maintain the physical environment. So we want to make sure that that feedback gets into Jen so that she can help to position her team for additional resources. And Jen wants to maybe say something.
I would like to encourage you to talk to your city councilors
more trash pickup on that side, you're saying?
But don't we pay an overlay tax in a special district? And isn't that one of the things that's supposed to come with that additional tax is to maintain the cleanliness of the streets?
Until 2015, that is true.
It's no longer true, Dave. You no longer pay that?
So you still pay it.
But it just goes to somewhere else.
Yes.
That's unacceptable.
It goes to federal district.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, so this was a decision that was made by City Council
Unacceptable.
in 2016. So it is a reality that Jen and I have to work on, or work with, I should say. But it creates challenges for us, particularly as it relates to equity and service level.
So I think all of us who live in this neighborhood who pay that, we need to raise our voices about it if we want places to get clean. To your point, talk to your city council member, that's totally unacceptable. That's taking money out of our pockets.
Yes. Any other questions? Did I mention the cool mural? Yeah. No, sir, and man, you guys brought it. It's a great point, and it's a challenge of the environment that we're working in. And it was a heavily politicized local election, and that resulted in some shifts in resource allocation. Those are decisions made by City Council. So we would encourage you to reach out to them and let them know. All right, Captain Vestal, I think you can bring us home.
Unfortunately, our council member was here. I don't see her now. Kay Crowder was here. We appreciate her coming by. Please continue to visit. Captain Vestal.
Thanks, Larry. Okay, I'm Tommy Vestal. I am captain for the downtown district, obviously Verona Police. So I can do this really quickly. We're a little bit over. Crime is down, about 5% overall for Glenwood South from the same time period last year. So that's a good thing. Last year, this time we were dealing with a few incidents, violent in nature, and we just haven't seen that repeat this year. We like to believe that that's a result of some deliberate moves that we've made as a result of some of the things that did happen. So we are a data-driven police department. You may have heard that, but that really is what we are. We do a lot of looking at the numbers, I guess is the best way to say it. And so we took a look at that and made some changes. Like I said, they were very deliberate changes, and you probably have noticed some of those. Some of those have been a little bit more obvious than others. That's typically at egress on Friday and Saturday nights. Things are a little bit different.
So what are some of the things that you do for some of us that might not be out at that time?
Specifically, one of the things we did is we looked at locations where we were suffering, or where the likelihood of an aggravated assault or where violence was likely to occur, and we were able to pinpoint those things down to a pretty narrow time frame that was associated with egress on Friday and Saturday nights. So egress being fancy word for saying that's when the clubs let out. So that's when everybody hits the street to get back into a car of some kind of transportation, Uber, some sort of ride share, and get out of downtown or go back to wherever they came from. That was the point in time where we were likely going to have an assault. So there's there's more than two, but two big challenges for us are getting all of those people into some sort of mode of transportation that's safe and getting them out and away from downtown, and then doing it quickly without any sort of negative fallout from that. So what we did was we identified the locations based on the data, and we just incorporated those locations into an egress plan. So we don't really divert or make you go one way or the other, but we sort of help that along by the way we position our officers, and we do it very visibly. So we position them very visibly, which we believe helps the natural flow of pedestrians and vehicles, and that also then provides that high visibility that eliminates the issue with the violence. So that's very flexible, so that as we, if different locations develop, we can certainly move that a little bit. We can sort of change that around. We really don't want to get into a traffic plan where we really make everybody do the same thing every Friday and Saturday night because it's very, it has to be a little bit more flexible than that, and that can change depending on, if something big develops in the 400 block, and maybe in 6 months it's not there, or the hot place to be has changed and now it's the 100 block. I don't know. So we try not to mess with the traffic a whole lot, but what we really want to do is influence personal behavior at the street level, particularly the pedestrian behavior, and we've done that with the higher visibility. Up until now, at least, it appears it's working.
I would just say keep doing it, because when there's blue lights flashing all the way down West Street and behind, I live in the West, it is a completely different experience down there now that your presence is so obvious.
So thank you, sir. So one of the things we did was activate the blue lights, and we haven't always done that. We have done it a little bit in the past. We're very aware that that can have a negative sort of look or optic to that. That's a decision that I made, so if you want to yell at somebody, yell at me. Those officers that are out there don't really have any choice. They're implementing a plan that I'm sort of directing. And the reason is it's sort of a force multiplier, that the lights give the impression that we're there, and they tend to give the impression that we're there in greater number. We're there and we have pretty good numbers, but I can't make any more than what I've got. So I've got to do things to sort of get, for the optics of things, to sort of ramp up at that time. And really what we're looking for, we understand that it takes time. There's a lot of people out here on club night. It takes a little bit of time to get everybody out and get everybody out safely. I said earlier, our goal is to get them gone, but if they chose to want to stay around, I've got to deal with that. I can't make them leave. There's really no law that says once the club's closed, you've got to go. So really what we're looking for them to do, we're just looking to alter behavior. We're looking to bring everybody back down to a sort of a street level kind of demeanor, which is a little bit different than it was maybe on the inside of the club, and just kind of bring everybody back down to a calm. And we feel like it's working out. I've got Sergeant Trey Batten here with me tonight. If you want to stick around later, you can talk to Trey. He leads a squad that we call the Hospitality Squad, and we named it that because it sounds a little bit nicer. But it deals with the hospitality industry, primarily bars, clubs, restaurants, but also hotels, and we've most recently ventured into the sort of the fish table businesses that have come up, sort of the video game sort of winnings kind of locations. He works primarily Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. He and his officers, that's all they do, is work nighttime and dealing with hospitality industry kind of stuff. So they're always in Glenwood South. They're always here every Wednesday through Saturday night. He's a great resource if you've got an issue, a specific problem. Most likely you can bring it to me, but almost always I'm going to bring him right into the loop right away. And he's sort of the go-to fixer for issues like that. If you've lived in Glenwood South long, you know about HDEP, or the Hospitality District Entertainment Permit. There's a website for that. That was created to deal with noise and to bring sort of residents together with clubs and bars and restaurants so that they could sort of work together to work out noise issues. And over time, the use of that has dissipated quite a bit. But what it does not capture, obviously, is the street level noise, the pedestrians, the vehicles, the cars, the motorcycles, which is what a lot of you tell me about. And we're very aware of that, and we're trying to find ways to deal with that. But Sergeant Batten is a great resource for that, to sort of bring him in on your specific issue at your specific location. It might be the same group of whatever at the exact same time every Saturday night. That's the sort of thing that he needs to know about, because he can put direct pressure on that issue for you and hopefully solve the problem. Anybody else? Any questions at all? That's good.
All right. Thank you for all the participants tonight. It was great. I hope you've learned a lot. Thank you for coming, and we'll do this again soon. we want to keep everybody involved in the community, and this is just a really good way to do it. So grab some food before you leave. There's some drinks too, and as long as you're walking home.